Duncan Smith, who, of course, the former Conservative leader who I spoke to earlier. I asked him about the resolve that seems to be hardening among the Europeans, given comments yesterday by German Chancellor Angela Merkel. He said he just puts it down to, you know, the early parts of the game. Let's listen in on first, and I'll ask you something.
People go, oh, look, they're showing resolve in their strength. Well, what would you expect? They're about to head into a negotiation. You know, I've been in business. In a negotiation, you always start from your firm position. That is to say, this is our resolve, we're very resolved. I mean, the idea of the alternative is to go in saying, oh, I tell you what, it's OK, we'll let the UK have everything they want. So what do you want? They're not going to do that.
Simon, he's not too perturbed by the hardened resolve we're witnessing, but going into that big EU leaders tomorrow, that big EU summit, is Europe hardening their resolve, and how big a deal do you think it is?
Yeah, absolutely, they're hardening their resolve. What they're going to discuss tomorrow is a series of guidelines which were published about 4 weeks ago by Donald Tusk, the EU Council President. At each stage, those guidelines have been toughened up, more language has been added, more demands on the British have been imposed. And the message from Angela Merkel yesterday was that the British shouldn't be under any illusion that this is going to be an easy ride. And one reason to think that is just how united the EU is. This is a bloc that typically makes decisions at the very last minute after weeks of horse trading, and then does so on the basis of consensus agreement rather than unanimity. Look at Greece, look at the rounds of budget talks they've had over the years. On this, though, they are united. There is very much a common feeling that the UK can't be able to be better off outside the bloc than inside the bloc. And if you look at some of the discussions to date, you'll see that actually it's the British who've revised their position or diluted their position on a whole host of things, from transitional agreements to allowing freedom of movement of labour through those transitional periods. The Europeans have been pretty strong. That might break away in the talks, and that's obviously what Ian Duncan Smith's hoping. But for the moment, the EU enters these conversations with Theresa May pretty upbeat about their abilities.
Is there hope, Simon, within the UK camp that maybe it can, to its advantage, take advantage of individual issues where there might not be unanimity within the EU cause?
Well, they hope so, and you've certainly seen efforts to do that, be it by hinting at security. The Brexit bill ultimately comes down to what hole will be left in the budget, and obviously there's some countries in Eastern Europe that receive more money than they put in from the EU. They'll be worried about that. So certainly there are areas that the UK will be hoping that they can pick them off. But at the same time, they haven't to date. German Chancellor Angela Merkel, there were efforts there to have informal talks before Article 50. There are attempts to do a deal on citizens' rights. They've all been rebuffed. So at the moment, the EU speaks as one.